In this interview, I get to speak with Jareb from Agilish. Now, unlike all the other people I've interviewed this summer, Jareb and I have actually worked together a very, very long time ago, and so I've known Jareb for quite some time. So I really do hope you enjoy this interview where we get to reconnect for the first time in many years and have a little bit of fun talking about YouTube. Are you tired of struggling to present your data in a clear and visually compelling way within Jira? Look no further. Introducing custom charts for Jira by our good friends over at Old Street Solutions. They provide the ultimate solution for powerful and customizable data visualization within Jira. Old Street Solution is the official sponsor for our Thursday Atlassian community member interviews. Use the link in the description down below to start a free trial of custom charts for Jira today. Most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to his channel, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel as well. Drop a like if you got value out of the video, and don't forget to check out the links in the description down below. Hey everyone, welcome to an interview with Jareb. This guy is very special because we used to work together a long time ago, and it's been maybe 5 years, maybe? Yeah,
Probably
maybe
about
five,
6 years.
five,
Yeah.
6 years since we last worked together, and then out of nowhere, he's got a YouTube channel and talking about Agile stuff and talking about Jira, and I thought it was a great opportunity to get to know Jareb a little bit more, introduce him to the Atlassian community here, and just kind of hear his story and see where he's going to be going with this new channel of his. And yeah, and just again get to know Jareb a little bit more and his mission over at Agilish. So with that, Jareb, welcome. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, I remember always running to you in weird spots, right? Hey, we worked
Yeah.
together. There was nothing, we didn't see each other or anything. And I think I saw you at a gas station, I believe. Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
Costco gas station one time. Yeah, very
Costco.
random.
Yeah, Costco brings everybody together, not just for the samples. All right, for Agile
No,
too.
and it was during COVID too, out of all places, right?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah, I always think that we had like a halftime in between there, and then of course in the last couple of weeks.
Cool. So why don't you walk us a little bit through your origin story? Just kind of tell us like what was the drive behind starting your channel, and like what was your thought process there? What got you excited about it? And yeah, and like your career, things that you've done, how you got to wanting to do this Agilish channel.
Cool. Yeah, and you know what? I like how you phrase it to origin story. Kind of sounds like a superhero background.
I know,
Is
yeah.
that your
Well, I mean,
intention?
yeah, a little bit, right? Because like people like to hear like what was your motivation? What were your drives? Like what was like the things that kind of brought you to this part of your life? Because it's a very different life than the one I knew that you had back then.
Yeah. So I won't tell people the real origin story, right? I got bitten by a radioactive
Like
spider, and
spider.
then I have all this Jira knowledge that just came from just a spider bite, right? Back in 6 years ago when I met you.
Yeah, that I should use that as my secret.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably your origin story. I'm maybe a radioactive,
Right.
or something like that. But for me, engineering background, went to school for mechanical engineering. I actually worked in manufacturing before, which is interesting because I didn't realize, how much I was going to actually use lean in software development at that time. But really understanding lean concepts that are been used in that industry for 50, 60 years plus. So it was really cool to understand that. And then the systems engineering portion as well was the next job, right? That's when I went to defense contractor after, did a system engineering job. So really understanding that product life cycle from start to finish, right? And so really good experience. And then the next one was more of, that's where I met you actually back in, I think 2017-ish, I
17,
think
yeah,
it was.
17 through 18, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where working in an IT group, learning about agile, and that's why I got introduced to Jira, and we'll talk
I was
about
gonna
that
say,
in a
didn't
little
I
bit.
introduce you to Jira?
You know what? Good question. Yeah, if you want to take
It
credit,
would have
I'll
been
give you
like,
credit for that. But I think I know you were. I remember I met you, and it was weird because it was in the hallway in that one building, and I remember it sparked where you were like, "It would
no,
be a
because
good idea." You remember
yeah,
that?
because the way I remember, right, is like the team was looking for a tool, and I was like, oh, you guys should consider like using Jira or something like that. But then it was like really convenient because I came from the team that owned Jira at that place. So I'm like, I brought all the knowledge in, and so I was like, I remember helping you all figure out like what story points meant and like how to use it and configure it and stuff. And it was that was ages ago though.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I introduced you to Jira.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the manager at the time, I think you remember her. I think she had it set up in some way, and before I got in, and so I think she brought that from her past experience or something. I think they brought you on to go more in the software area, and also probably maybe to help out on that too. Not 100%
Yeah,
sure.
no,
It's a little bit
I
to
definitely
remember.
accidentally stumbled. Yeah, I accidentally stumbled into being your guys' like Jira helper, right? Because I got hired for scripting and coding more than I did for the Jira skill set. But once because the Jira wasn't a thing in that team until a few months after I had started there.
Yeah, depending on when you started, yeah, I think they were
Oh
kind of
man.
dipping into it. Yeah, we're going back a little bit, and I know I remember though specifically when I ran into you. It's funny because like looking at you now, it all makes sense. Because I remember I ran into you like during at whatever the building number was, and you're like, "Wouldn't it be a good idea if we did this and that, and also we did this?" And you're always come with ideas. I'm like, "This guy has something. He's an entrepreneur at heart, right?" And so
I don't know
like
about that.
it's fun. It's funny seeing you now. You're like, it all makes sense. I should have called it out.
Yeah, no, I think that I mean most regular jobs usually limit you a little bit more, right? Like with your dreams and what you want to do. So I think I've had that spirit for like my whole life, but it took me a while. It took a global pandemic for me to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I think always entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs at heart, right? Wherever they're at in their current situation, their ideas
Yeah.
or things. So it's really cool to see that.
So then fast forward 6 years then, right? So how did we get up to now? How did you get this channel going? What was the thought
Yeah,
there?
yeah, good question. It's been a whirlwind for sure. So I after that IT job, then I moved to up do some consulting in a big cloud company. That's where I'm currently at now. So it's interesting to see what industries are doing, the big players, and kind of seeing what trends is going on with them and their teams, and what tools they're using, and kind of what practices they're using, what's working, what's not working. So learning a lot, I'll tell you that, and that's kind of one of my milestones. And we'll go into probably certifications, I'm sure later. Is I love to learn, and so this is a good opportunity where you can learn from really smart people, and they're doing great things, and you can learn from each other. So it's really good.
Cool. And then the channel though, I'm dying to find out. Like, so you're this is a job day to day, 9 to 5, but where did where did Jared get this idea of like I'm gonna start a channel?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. I think it was probably maybe a year ago. I just, didn't find the time. Okay, that's making excuses, right? To kind of,
It took me 4 years to start my channel, so
yeah,
don't
yeah.
even worry.
You get the courage. You're like, I don't know if I want to put myself on the internet. All these bad things can happen, and then in the ultimate way, like you just got to do it. You got to try it out because I don't want to, regret 20 years down the road. And you're like, man, I should have tried that out, right? And so that's kind of the regret minimization framework, right? Might as well give it a shot. Hopefully I can empower people and help people out. Things that I'm seeing, currently in my job, and just people that can use some help, and putting some videos out that might be able to help a small group of people or even a large organization. I think pay it forward, right?
I gotta ask though, like, where did the inspiration come? So every single one of your videos, at least all the ones I've seen, you have like a little skit at the beginning of your intro. Like, I've never seen that in any other buddy's YouTube video. So like, what was your thought process there?
Yeah, I know that. You know what? And I'll tell you one thing: it's a learning experience. I'm sure you've already been through this numerous times because it takes a lot of work. Like, especially to create a video, and I realized that like it has to be entertaining, right? I wanted to make something exciting, and so I was like, let me throw an intro in here. I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. I can always scrap it, but let's see how this works. And so I'm still kind of trying that out now. And so I was like, let's figure out a way to kind of integrate whatever that topic is into something that maybe is a
A
little
little
bit
fun.
more comedic or something that's kind of aligned with it, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I thought it was clever for two reasons. One is when you're watching these like YouTube gurus that are like, how do you get 1 million subscribers or whatnot? everybody's like, you got to be different. But like, how can you be different when you're teaching, like you're doing a screen share and you're teaching somebody like click here, click there, click over there, and you're done, right? Like, it's challenging to innovate. So I thought when I first saw that, I was like, this would be different. Like this is not the way I would have approached it. But it's a great, I think it's a great approach. But then two, and I might be giving this away for you, right? But I feel like if you were to double down on that idea, but carried it through the life cycle of the video, you might be onto something because most folks don't want to just be entertained, but rather want to watch the whole story, right? And it's challenging to tell a story when I'm just telling somebody like click this and click there and click over here. But I feel like you can kind of interweave an entire like storyline, right? Being like a buck catcher and like opening up stories and stuff, right? Like I feel like you can take a whole 9-10 minute video and really kind of go beyond just that little intro, but have more of a, like a regular storyline in addition to teaching folks. But I'd be curious, like when I was watching your videos, I'm like, maybe I should try to do something where I'm like telling more of a little story, little entertaining thing, but kind of engaging the users with something deeper, but then also teaching them something. Anything like, have you thought like, was that kind of where your thought was going, or you're like, you were just trying to entertain somebody at the beginning?
Yeah, I was just trying to do a little entertaining, but that's a good idea, and maybe that's something we can collaborate in the future. Maybe come with something creative and try it out. Because I didn't really think about going through the whole video, but you're right. There
Well,
is kind of a balance there, right?
Mr. Beast does this right now. Like, I don't know if you've seen his latest videos. Like, he'll start you off with like, we're gonna blow this up, but first we're gonna start here, and then he kind of guides you through like this narrative of like as he builds up and builds up, and then throughout the narrative, he's reminding you that we're gonna blow something up, and he doesn't blow you up until the end, right? Like he doesn't do that climax all the way until the very end. So he keeps that attention. So I'd be curious to see like if you can do something, because I have no creativity, right? I would have never thought to be like a buck catcher or whatever, all the little things that you throw in there, but kind of building it out, right? Like leading folks through the journey here, and then eventually going like, well, here's why I'm a buck catcher.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a lot more costumes for that one.
I know.
Which is a funny thing in itself, because I'm just like pulling whatever I have. So it's just like I found a t-shirt and a pole and something else. How can I incorporate this into ticket types? I'm about to figure something out.
Yeah. Well, food for thought, but I thought it was clever. Like I just thought it was like one of those things. I'm like, really seriously, like everybody always like do something unique. And I'm like, how? But then I see your videos, I'm like, this is unique. So awesome. Changing to the next question. What's your first like Atlassian and or Agile, right? So just to kind of explain to the audience, Jared's videos are centered around Agile, right? There's a lot more Agile. Obviously, Jira has a huge component in this. So feel free to kind of take it either way, right? But what was your first like memory of Agile? Like when did you fall in love with this thing? When did you know that this like framework, this way of doing work was like revolutionary?
Yeah, good question. I think it actually was maybe a year or two before, probably about 2 years before actually we met each other. I was like wanted to get in software, but I didn't know how to start, right? And I had an engineering background, but it was maybe adjacent, not exactly, software mechanical. So we had a little bit of that. And so I started to figure out, how do you get your foot in the door when you're not native just software developer, right? You have to start somewhere. And so how can you get in there? Well, maybe hardware, maybe on the program management side, right? Especially the Scrum Master. It's kind of interesting. I hear your thoughts as well. Is like, it's kind of like that role. It can be a lot of different people, right? Sometimes it's within the team, sometimes the software developer, sometimes the program manager. And so you're like, how can you get your foot in the door here and then get into that field? And then you can kind of jump in, right? A little bit more and learn. So that's kind of where I got interested, is like, this might be the way to kind of that stepping stone to get in there. And that's kind of where I'm like, well, how does this work? Like, how do people effectively do that? And just stuff studying on my own, watching YouTube videos. Wish you were out back then. It would have helped me out, and things like that. But really, kind of just self-learning on the line, whatever I could find.
Awesome. Why Agile though? Like out of all the methodologies out there, all the different ways for teams to work together, like why did you decide that this was like the market you wanted to tap into?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, software is always growing. And the one thing I noticed is that like everything has an app, right? You have an app for, your food, and you have an app for when you're sleeping, and I don't know, you have an app to walk your dog, right? And so, going that way, it's going to be integrated in our lives, right? And so I'm like, well, if it is, you might as well get on this train or really understand it, because if it's going to be integrated, even if you go back to mechanical, right, there's always going to be software. It's not just mechanical components anymore. There's software integrated with it.
Right.
That's kind of where I like, well, might as well get on this train and start learning now, because I'm going to have to learn it eventually.
It's so interesting you bring that up, because in this team that we both worked on back in 2017, I don't know if you were in the room. So for everybody else, we were like, there was three of us that were in like a room. We shared an office together, and it was always fun in that room. And I remember distinctively having a conversation with like at least my two roommates, but then a couple of other people that were in the team. And we were talking about like the penetrations of like how everything was going to have some software component to it. And I remember one of the guys that worked there, he's like, that's not true. You still have a lot of stuff that's not going to be impacted by software. And I'm like, name one thing that doesn't have software, right? And he's like, the cotton gin. And I'm like, I don't know that we use cotton gin anymore. But it's so interesting to see it like 6 years later, we're basically seeing that same thing come to life, right? Like there is literally nothing that I can think of that isn't touched by software now. Like software's got its hands on everything. Taco Bell. You can't go anywhere now. Like, you can't do anything. You can't even order food anymore without software. I was at Taco Bell with my parents this weekend, and they're waiting for like 10 minutes for like a cashier to come, and I'm like, I am pretty sure they want you to be using this tablet over here.
Yeah,
like they make it painful to not use the software.
Yeah, like I'm getting pinged right now to go eat or stand up, right? Like,
right.
that should be someone else. You should do that, right? Hey, you're gonna eat.
Yep. We all know that Jira's dashboards are a little lackluster. Wouldn't it be cool if you could significantly make your metrics and reports better? With custom charts for Jira, you can transform your raw data into stunning charts and graphs that make an impact. No more settling for the default Jira reports or spending hours manually manipulating data in a spreadsheet. Go show our friends at Old Street Solutions the power of the internet and show them your support and start a free trial to custom charts for Jira today. So what's your biggest lesson since you started your YouTube channel? What's some of the struggles you've gone through here? What's one of the biggest learning things that you've learned from being new to this community, and kind of just, obviously you had done some research for starting a channel, but what's been probably the hardest thing or the biggest lesson you've learned since starting it?
Yeah, that one I think is even continual. I don't know about your experience, but I feel like every day I'm learning something new, right? Create some videos and I'm like, I think this will be good. And then it's like, I don't know if maybe you're watching it, no comments. And then videos, I'm like, people are like, no, that's not going to work. They actually did the best. And I'm like, why is that working better than these videos? Like, I don't understand, right? So like, no clue. And so that's kind of, I think every day, I think I just got to listen, right? Like what is the data, going back into, the origin and the channel, right? I know I have Jira and Agile stuff there because it's stuff I know today, but like in the future, right? Data in general is important, and building your decisions and your companies off of data to make decisions in the future, I think are important. And so every day looking at the metrics and saying things like, do I need to edit? Do I need to have a longer, maybe like you said, do I need to have a longer intro? Maybe they don't like the intro. Maybe I should just cut that completely. Maybe they don't like the catcher analogy.
Yeah. The one thing, so some stuff that I've learned through the internet, right, is you'll never please anybody, right? Like I love the intros. Other people might not like it. My initial thought was like, those first 10, 20 seconds of a YouTube video are probably the most critical 10, 15, 20 seconds of a video, right? And to spend it doing that, that's why I'm like, you kind of have to, like, if you are going to go down that route, you got to really show why to keep watching. You got to hook them in a little bit more deeply with the skit there. But otherwise, like that's why, like, I even most recently I cut out like introductions. I'm like, here's what you're gonna learn. Let's get into it. Because it was just like, I'd be like, hey, I'm Alex from 8 Tech Tutorials and all this and all that, and I'm like, nope. I'm just like, today we're creating a custom field. Let's go learn.
Yeah. And I'm sure eventually we'll see how this goes. But yeah, my intro is actually longer. I actually cut them in half, or cut them in, a quarter. Yeah. So those outtakes are probably somewhere, in my computer or on a drive that I'll pull out someday for you to laugh about or the community.
Oh, the power of some props and a green screen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. But yeah, I think
You
you're
gotta have a
right.
little fun with it. I think the videos that do the most well long or let me generalize the channels that do the most long term, right? Are the people that build like a community and folks that are like that can be more personable to the person, right? That's talking, right? So I think as long as you create that kind of environment where like you're showing a little bit about who you are and your character, I think those people tend to do a lot better than folks that are just like again just training somebody to do something, right? Because you can watch, there's 1,000 of those, but people will start to latch on. Like my buddy and I, the Jira guy, we started the Jira Life, a new podcast, right? And we've been very intentional in making it community driven, right? Very community based. So we have like the peanut gallery, and we like elevate the peanut gallery so people know and appreciate that whatever they put in the chat and the comments is going to be part of the episode, right? Like we fold it in and we make sure that we bring everybody into it so more people want to come in and contribute because they want to be part of it. So it's like it's a very exponential like way of growing.
Yeah, I think it's cool too that actually the Jira Life. I checked him out. This week I was like, I'll check out what he's doing. I know you mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I really actually like that. That's like you said, community based, very personable. Really like, by the way. So did a good job.
Well, you're gonna have to. So I thought I had all the secrets, but like the last time you and I spoke, you did not have over 1,000 subscribers. So where did this happen? Like, what did you do? What was the secret sauce there? Who did you
Yeah,
find?
yeah, that's a good question. We're just working with the community that I know. Working internally, with my LinkedIn, and also working with others as well. Looking what are SEO tactics, right? What are things you can do? What are applications you can use to help out with that, right? And so I think that kind of helps out too as well, right? With backlinks and things like that. So just understanding that, right, is a whole different ballgame. And so again, learning every day. I don't think it's optimized. I don't think it's the best. I think it's a start, and I think that I still have a long way to go. I'll tell you that because
Yeah.
again,
But- No, but I mean, you definitely hit one of those two milestones, though, right? Like getting to the 1,000 subscribers is probably the hardest thing in the world. So congrats first to getting there. But man, I will tell you that I, like you, look at those metrics day in and day out. And some days I'm excited, and some days I'm just like, how the heck does this thing even work? Like, I like I am hitting record numbers on views right now. Like I'm hitting like almost 4,000 views a day. Yet my AdSense is like lower than it's ever been. So I'm like, what the heck? And then
yeah,
the day that I do worse, a day that I'm back to like closer to 3,000 views, that AdSense is like higher than it's ever been. I'm like, aren't these supposed to be more closely related? Because right now they kind of do this.
yeah, your channel is doing insane, by the way. So you're doing something right. Like I can learn probably a lot from you.
It,
I'll tell you that.
it's like you though, right? Like I'm just like throwing out there. I don't know if you heard, but I am starting a new council of like mentors. Definitely would want to. I'll reach out to you, but I'm getting other content creators that are doing like Atlassian related content, and we're kind of just again, Mr. Beast does this right where he has a select few people that review, critique, and we bounce the ideas off of each other and kind of look at like what's working, what's not working, things to try, things to eliminate. So I'm creating a group like that. So I'll definitely reach out to you if you're interested on that
Yeah, absolutely.
with
It's kind of
other
like the
people
voice
that are
for
doing
Jira. The
video.
voice for
Just
Jira.
just at last, well, really Atlassian in general, right? But Atlassian kind of falls in back into that whole agile life too. So it's really hard to do like Jira without doing agile. Like
Yeah,
they're almost hand in hand,
yeah,
and vice versa.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
moving on here to the next question here. So obviously you use Jira quite a bit, right? But obviously that's not the topic of your channel. But like I said, right, it does fold in nicely. So out of all the plugins in Jira, like which was your favorite one? I'm just always curious to find out from folks. Like what kind of cool things are you adding to your Jira to make your life a little bit easier?
Yeah, I
Anything that comes
know.
to mind?
Oh, what was that? I'm sorry.
Anything that comes to mind when you look at your plugin list?
Yeah, this one, I'll tell you, it's not going to be the most glamorous
Exciting?
plugin. Yeah, so you can do the drum roll, but it might not do justice. But for me, I keep it simple. And so I think the one that I think is most important or foundation is probably just the GitHub for Jira integration.
Okay.
It's square one, right?
Yeah, no.
uh,
You'd be surprised how many people don't even get that far, right?
yeah, and I
And
think it's probably the most downloaded one too. I don't know what the metrics or if there's a leaderboard or whatever, but it has like 160,000 downloads, so it might be the number one. But going back to these other tools that are competing against it, right? Asana, Monday, at least from what I've seen, the power is the integration, right, with the developer and the team. So like if you don't have that, then you don't have visibility into that work. There's also some automation you can do with that visibility. So it like all like piles onto each other that I feel like you don't have that, then you can use Monday or these other Asana, and you can probably do just about the same like functionality, but that's why you go to Jira, right? Because it has all
right.
this integrated. So that's just my finding. Not a great. Not a hey,
No,
I
I mean
use.
it's a great one, right? Because like
Yeah.
it's part of the DNA. It's almost like something that should have been built into Jira. But it's when you use it, like it just completes the story, right? It completes from a software development lifecycle. Obviously, you get your CI/CD portion as well, but I think GitHub does that as well now too, right? But yeah, it's an integral part that you if you're using Jira and you're doing software development and you're not connecting those two together, you're like, why? Like
Yeah, maybe.
that should be a day one requirement.
Yeah, maybe someone can have the Oscars. Maybe pitch the idea to Atlassian. Oscars
Yeah.
every year for the top apps.
They do. So the Atlassian has like these like these awards that they give out. I don't know when they do it. They definitely didn't mention anything at the Atlassian conference that I was at in April, but they do. I definitely know that they give out like awards and recognitions to certain vendors. But it's kind of a weird thing, right? Because we jokingly, so I hang out with a lot of the different vendors in the Atlassian ecosystem, and we were cracking a joke of like in 3 to 4 years time, like there's only going to be like 5 makers of apps in the marketplace. So it's like AppFire keeps buying everybody, Adaptivist has a bunch, Tempo's got a whole bunch, right? So they're just like these big players are just like absorbing all these other little smaller apps. So we're joking that when you go to the expo hall, like in a Atlassian conference in like 5 years, it's going to be like 5 booths and that's it. Because everybody's gotten bought out.
Yeah, there's no monopoly rules there, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to make my own, but it's harder than it's a lot harder than easier.
Yeah.
Moving on, since we're running out of time here, we've got a few minutes left, and I just kind of want to ask a few more questions. But if you can change one thing about like Jira or Agile in general, like what would it be? Like what would make this life a lot better for you?
Can I say giving Jira a line included with the subscription?
Absolutely. Well, either that or making it accessible, right? Because
Yeah,
Jira Line is not accessible if you don't have like millions and millions and millions of dollars. Yeah, that.
exactly. Yeah. That's exactly. I mean, that would be my top ask. I would say, but if you want to go maybe lower hanging fruit, because I'm sure that's probably not going to happen.
Or at least some functionalities of Jira Align down to Jira, right? Like I don't need the whole product, but the fact that you can't get Jira Align unless you sign up for like a 3-month pilot that they have to set up for you is like it almost feels anti-Atlassian. Because the whole beauty of Atlassian is that hey, everybody can get started for free unless you go with this route.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So that'd be one ask I would say, at least from my point of view.
So I've been watching your videos, and clearly you and I use Jira differently,
Yeah.
very, very differently. So what is something special or unique about how you use Jira that you'd like to share?
Yeah. And I'll say that this is like, depending on the team, it changes. So like some teams have different experiences with Agile or even just Jira, we'll just say, right, in particular. And so they'll use the tools a little bit differently. And also to like the context. I know you're a Jira admin, so every organization has different rules on what they can and can't do, right? Hey,
Right.
we're going to restrict these teams from doing these things, or we're going to allow more teams to do things. But there's some complexities in the background, right? The workflows, you don't want a bunch of custom workflows you have to manage. So it all depends on the use case, I would say. But for me, I minimize plugins. I try to keep it simple, right? I try to use whatever is out of the box. Usually the customers that I'm dealing with, the teams I'm working with, they're big organizations. So unless like the whole organization gets bought into it, and if they all have accounts, like it can be pretty costly. So it's like, does the cost of the monthly application justify, the time saved, right, for that, purchasing it? That's kind of the questions that come up. And so use whatever is out of the box usually, and then customize it depending on the context. The Jira admins are really friendly. Maybe give them coffee and donuts to say, hey, I need this workflow change. Can you make it
There's
happen?
actually a Jira Admin Day, by the way, that just happened. Like I was like on the 14th or the 15th of July. So maybe recognize your Jira Admin on Jira Admin Day.
Oh, I'll give them a shout out for sure, and a virtual donut and a coffee or something, whatever, please. But depending on who those people are and how good the relationships are, I'll keep it simple, and then use whatever, if the admins have more flexibility for the teams, I'll probably prefer the company managed. But if it's very restrictive, it's hard to get things changed. Maybe there's too much work on the plate because
Yeah.
usually have multiple hats. Go
Yeah, the team managed one is definitely an area that I don't give a whole lot of attention to, but it's something that I want to because Atlassian gives it a lot of attention,
Mhm.
and it doesn't exist in the server versions or on-premise versions of Jira. So it's definitely an area where I think teams automatically by default stumbled into it because it's how it gets set up when you first jump into Jira, and I think that's very intentional. But the biggest problem I have is like it just doesn't scale. It doesn't grow with the team and the complexities and the processes of these teams. So they very quickly have to pivot. And so I'm like, but Atlassian is making changes, right? Like you can now reference any custom field from a company managed project in your team managed. So I think Atlassian long term understands that it's got to do something better there. So, but I always thought it was interesting when I see your videos, right? Because it's very heavy on the team managed stuff, and I'm like, I'm always very company managed.
Yeah, no, I agree completely with you. Like I said, I prefer company managed, but depending on the context, sometimes it's easy to do team managed if it's a small team and
Yeah.
you're working, again, small team, you want to go quick.
And you don't have a Jira admin, right? That's
Yeah,
probably
yeah, exactly. Or usually, a lot of times they usually have multiple hats, so they're doing that plus their full time job, and so
yeah.
yeah.
But I think there's also the competition, right? Like everybody, like Monday.com is probably the biggest culprit of this. Where like I was I was talking to somebody this week, and she was explaining she's like she doesn't work for Monday, but she really loves the Monday tool. And she the way she was describing it, I'm like, you're starting to sound like the lady that shows up in all my commercials when I'm like in all my ads for all my videos. Because she's like, oh, it took us seconds to get money.com started. And so I think Atlassian recognizes the fact that, like, hey man, if we want to compete, we got to have seconds to get configured and going. We can't have people, because a full deployment for me will take like a week or two, right? Where I'm sitting down with good requirements, and like people don't have 2 weeks and a dedicated budget to go hire a Jira person to set up their Jiras, right? They need to be like Monday was like our team was able to get started in a couple of seconds. but
Yeah.
but then there's like, but did you set it up correctly?
Yeah, like you said, there's no win-win situation, right? Like there's always pros
Yeah.
and cons of both. So you gotta just take which one and take the
Well,
pros and cons.
definitely opportunities for future videos, man. Was future videos there for us.
Yeah.
Switching over, last couple questions here. What excites you the most about like Agile or Atlassian or Jira or anything like that? Like, pick one, and like what gets you the most excited about the future?
I think I know it's still early, but that product discovery, product management
JPD, yeah,
tools,
Jira Product Discovery.
I'm curious of how that turns out because there's other tools that product managers use, Aha and Miro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what I'm talking about, right? And they have plugins, but like having it natively integrated will be interesting to see. Can you get traceability from, hey, Alex,
And
you told me I wanted to update this interface, and then all the way down the lines of code? That'll be interesting to see and see if it helps the teams move quicker.
yeah, no, I'm definitely right there with you. It's Jira Product Discovery has been one of those new tools where I'm like, wow, this could be if they play their cards right, right? If they do like these tighter integrations, because on day one I was there like right when the first beta came out, and you couldn't link an issue in Jira to a product discovery. That was a pain. But then like a couple weeks later, it was a thing, and I was like, wow, well this right there changed the game for me, right? Because the fact that I can have my idea and have it linked to the Apex and start going down, like that drastically improved. One of our biggest things that we got is like, well, can we bring in that idea into the advanced roadmap? Because teams are that's where you visualize the whole hierarchy and the whole plan. That can we now start pulling those in? So those would be some good changes that we'd love for Atlassian to bring in.
Yeah, likewise.
Okay. Last and final big question. Then we got one little minor question. But the last final question is like, so clearly, uh, again, just so very supportive of your channel, right? Like it's something that's fairly new. How many months ago did you start this channel? It's been like more than 6 months, no?
Yeah, I think it was probably around then. I think I created it a while back, but yeah, that's probably about right. Especially if you're like, when did you release or when did you start creating videos? I think it'd be a different question because I think the first batch of videos, I think it took me a while, like to actually understand like how do you record, what tools you need to use, like all the
Yeah.
basics, right? You kind of look over and then, from there, yeah, I
Well, you
think.
gotta. It says there's 3 months ago is when you published your first one here, but it's a relatively new channel, right? And so the question on this last one is like, what secret do you have for folks that are like wanting to maybe get started in the world of Agile, right? Like, obviously, your channel is designed to guide people through this, right? So, what tip or secret would you have for folks that are kind of new to Agile and they want to learn it quicker?
I would say just get your hands dirty. Go
Get your
join a
hands dirty.
team, right? Because there's certifications and there's experience, right? And I think certifications are good. I think the experience is actually more valuable. Kind of like the Agile Manifesto of certifications, right? I value both, but I value the stuff,
Yeah.
the experience a little bit more. And so, videos I think are a good starting point, but go to a team and try different tools, like you said, try different plugins that you have on your videos, right? Try them out with the team, see how they work, get feedback from the team, because in the end, every team's so different, experience and experience with tools, experience in the industry, and you got to do what works best for your team in the end.
Yeah, awesome. So, I mean, I'm really excited for your channel, right? Like I said, the last time you and I spoke, I must have been like number 10 or something of your subscribers. I was a very early subscriber. Now to see you grow this quickly, I think at this rate, you're gonna have to like bring my channel up with you.
Nah, there's no way. Your growth is
No?
crazy.
Oh man,
I'll take a back seat, and you can just keep
no, no,
on
no, no.
driving. All right, I'm gonna
I
keep on
don't
meeting
think
with
so,
you.
man. I've never seen a channel hit that kind of a number that quickly. It's crazy. Um, but I think you have a very, very bright future here, and I'm really, really again excited to see you and what you're going to be doing with this channel. And again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know so I can. I'd be more than happy to chat about your channel and what you can do and stuff like that. But final question, just to kind of end things out, where can people find you?
Yeah, I think the top three. I think I have multiple social media accounts, but it's too hard. It's too hard to manage all of them.
Well,
So
we'll put them on the link in the description down below. So just name off
yeah,
the ones you want.
yeah. I would just say like the top three, like YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Keep it simple. Those are the top three. I think I use more actively than the rest of them, and interacting, and So I would say those three.
Okay. Yeah, well, make sure you check out the link in the description down below so you can go follow Jareb and his channels and his social media so that you can connect with him, subscribe, follow him, and take a look at all the great stuff that he's doing for the Agile community. Again, not an easy thing to do. I think you need some thick skin. There's a reason why most of my videos are Jira based. If you go back and look at some of my older ones, like I try to do a little bit more Agile,
Mhm.
but holy moly, is Agile subjective. And there's some people that are like purists and they love it, and like there's a there's a law and a way to do it. And then there's me who I'm like a cowboy, wild wild west, just like if it works, if it I'm like a what is it, USPS, if it fits it ships, right? Like if it works, it works. And I'm not as married to like a set of rules. And but so I'm like, I'll stick to Jira videos because the Jira community there's a lot more forgiving when I give an opinion about something. So bless
Yeah,
you for jumping into this Agile world and really making Agile videos because it's tough, man. It's a tough market.
it is. Yeah, and we'll see. I know 3, 6 months down the road, I might be in the same boat as you. maybe maybe agile too tough, right? But I think I give it a shot, and then going more overarching that data, right? Backing from data is the processes, the tools, which is Jira is a portion of it, and the
Yeah.
people, right? It makes up an organization, not just
I,
one or the other.
I just love that ish part of your channel though, right? Because like nobody, I mean, I worked with hundreds and hundreds of teams, and no two teams have ever implemented it the same. And you always got to like pull in a little bit of waterfall, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, right? So you make it agile-ish. It's not agile. Like it just doesn't exist.
That's exactly what the name is for. I'm glad you caught on to that too. I knew you would catch on to that. And yeah, no one does it the same. So everybody is agile-ish, including myself. I don't say I'm an agile professional. I'm a little bit agile, so I'm agile-ish. Hopefully everybody can join on that.
Yeah, I think it'll be great for all the people that don't want to follow it to the T, because you will have a group of people that follow it to the T. Not for you.
Yeah, exactly.
For everybody else, for the rest of the world that is good enough for government work, come on over.
That's exactly where I'm going at. Yeah, I completely align with you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, again, thank you very much for taking the time, Jareb. And again, if you continue down your projection, I'm going to be asking you for help for shout outs on my channel. But for everybody else, if you enjoyed this interview, please make sure you check out Jareb's information. When we set up to do this interview, he had significantly less subscribers. So we're like, hey, we'll promote it like crazy and shoot you in front of my almost 10,000 subscribers. But apparently at this point, Jareb, like I said, you're gonna have to be promoting me soon.
Yeah, we'll see. If that's the day, I'll get you a drink or something, because that will be the day. If I can get again, you think you have a good content, a good channel, you're building a community. If I can get close to you, I'll feel happy.
We'll have to bring you on the Jira Life as well, so you can have a little conversation with the Jira guy and I.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Sure. All right. Thank you everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.
Cool. Thanks everybody.
And that was the interview with Jareb. As I mentioned at the beginning, Jareb and I go way back, and it was really, really awesome to reconnect with him and talk about the things that we are very, very passionate about. Take control of your data. Custom Charts for Jira offers an extensive range of chart types and customization options, whether it's a bar chart, pie chart, or line chart, or pretty much a bunch of other different types of charts that they have. Create stunning visuals that represent your data in Jira accurately, tailored specifically to your specific needs. Head on over to the Atlassian Marketplace and show Old Street Solutions the power of the internet and start a free trial of Custom Charts for Jira today. I hope you enjoyed the interview, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to go over to Jareb's channel and subscribe over there as well. And most importantly, drop some likes, drop some comments, and we'll see you in the next one. I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need